former Heisman Trophy winner, and his great podcast, Out of Pocket with RG3. You can check it out on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Oh, there he's got his Baylor Bears jersey on. You're ready to go. Did you play basketball in high school?
Had to unmute there. Yes, I did play basketball in high school. I was actually recruited by Baylor, Kansas, and Florida. And that was Florida coming off a national championship, Dan. So I know my basketball.
Okay. Did you think about playing for Baylor when you were there?
Yes, I did. Is quick story. Coach Scott Drew, he's family to me, but he recruited me out of high school. I got to see him do that press conference, in the early 2000s when he took over the school right after the shooting that took place on the team. And, we talked, and I told him I would play basketball for him my senior year of college. And Dan, I never made it to my senior year. I left early. So I didn't lie.
Okay.
But, me and him stay in contact all the time. I used to go to the gym there at the Farrell Center and play basketball at night and actually practice and play with the team. Had a couple of teammates that ended up playing basketball and football at the same time, Kendall Wright and Levi Norwood. So there was a pipeline there for sure, but I just never made it to my senior year.
Better athlete, basketball player or football player?
Ooh. That's tough. Better athlete is certainly a football player. Yes, football players are better athletes.
Yeah, but
you want to know why? Or
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. They'll talk about the skill. You got Kevin Durant, 7 foot. Can dribble, penetrate, drive, dunk, shoot threes, has all those skills. But for football players, I actually think offensive linemen are some of the most skilled athletes in the world. To be able to get in, 60 to 70 car crashes every single game, have the footwork to pull around, pull outside to go do a screen, also anchor in and anchor down when you've got a 350-pound defensive lineman trying to kill your quarterback. I think offensive linemen are a lot more athletic than people realize. Get Trent Williams on the basketball court, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but Trent Williams is 6'5". Who cares?
Yeah.
He's small.
He's 6'5", 330, 40 pounds.
Do you think the NBA would be afraid of Trent Williams on the basketball floor?
No, I don't think they would be afraid of him. I just think that when you think 6'5" in the NBA or as a basketball player, it's like 6'5", 205. I'm talking about a guy that's 6'5", 350 pounds and can go out there and compete with the basketball players who weigh over 150 pounds less than he does.
Okay. We always talk about this of guys in the NBA, how would they be as football players? Like LeBron.
Correct.
LeBron could be tight end, all-pro tight end type.
Yeah. It would take time. It just depends on what you're asking him to do, Dan. I've had the best coaches I've ever been around is that you take a guy and you put him in a position to be successful, right? If I get LeBron, I'm not trying to teach LeBron how to block down on the defensive end if he's playing tight end. I'm flexing him out, going one-on-one, throwing him jump balls all day long.
Okay.
So it just depends on what you're asking them to do. But I do think it's easier. I think it's easier for a football player to go into the NBA and actually play productive minutes, maybe score 5 points, than it is for an NBA player to come into the NFL and truly play the position like it's supposed to be played.
Yeah, but I got 2 guys who played tight end in the NFL who are Hall of Famers, who were marginal basketball players in college. Antonio Gates and Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, I don't think they would like you calling them marginal basketball players, but it did take them some
time. And
it took them time.
They're Hall of Famers in the NFL.
Yeah. But it took them time to make the transition over into football. You look at Jimmy Graham as well over at Miami. I had a number of players from Baylor that played basketball that ended up coming over and playing football and playing it at a high level. It's not that you can't get it done. I'm just saying it's a lot easier to go have an impact immediately, football to basketball, than it is basketball to football. Not to rag on our guy here, but go look at Draymond Green's highlights from Michigan State, okay? I love Draymond, Go look at this. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's very tough to make that transition like that. But I know Keon Coleman right now, Josh Gordon, who I played with at Baylor and was an all-pro wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. If I took them today and put them on an NBA basketball court, they would be able to have productive minutes more so than taking an NBA player straight off the court and throwing them on an NFL field.
How would Shaq have done?
Oh, my God. Well, what position is Shaq playing?
Nose tackle.
Okay. Oh yeah, I mean, a 7-2 nose tackle. What's the saying in football, Dan? Low man wins. That's the issue with getting the taller guys and saying they're gonna play nose tackle. I actually think I would take Shaq, the Orlando Magic Shaq, first couple of years,
Yeah.
Lakers Shaq,
Yeah.
and I would put him at tight end
Oh,
because that Shaq was athletic, 7'2". I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to throw a seam route to a 7'2" Shaquille O'Neal running down the field?
who would have been a better football player, Michael Jordan or Kobe?
Oh, I think Michael Jordan would have been a better football player. I think he would have been a better football player. I think his tenacity is unmatched, and we have these GOAT conversations all the time. Kobe, Jordan, LeBron. I just think that Jordan's mindset and his approach to the game would have translated to any sport, and he kind of proved that to us by going and playing baseball.
He's RG3, out of pocket podcast. You can find it on YouTube wherever you get your podcast. All right, the news today: the Vikings aren't interested in Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Do you think they were interested, and why aren't they interested?
That is a great question. I think if they weren't interested, they would have came out immediately and said, "Hey, we have no interest." So I do think they mulled it over. The reason I don't think they're interested is because of their belief in JJ McCarthy. That they must have seen something in his rehab to let them know he'll be ready to start the season. JJ coming off of the preseason and the offseason last year was going to be the starter, in my opinion, over Sam Darnold before he got hurt. So when I look at it from that standpoint, I think what we saw from JJ McCarthy at Michigan is nothing compared to what we're going to see from JJ McCarthy when it comes to him playing for Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. The weapons that they have, the structure that they have, they're ready to win right now. And if they're picking him over Aaron Rodgers, that tells you a lot about what they've seen day in and day out in that building. And I'm excited for the young man because he is super talented, and I don't think Michigan tapped into, even 70% of what his potential is.
What are the Steelers doing?
I have no idea.
But you're the Steelers. Why don't you say to Aaron Rodgers, you want to join us? Tell us now at the end of business day. We're the Steelers. We're not waiting around. And now they got Mason Rudolph and
what?
Exactly.
Here's how my take on the Steelers was: as soon as they traded for DK Metcalf, they should have went ahead and signed Russell Wilson. DK Metcalf had his best seasons with Russell Wilson as a starting quarterback. You trade for this guy, you pay him $30+ million a year, and then he's going to be the cornerstone along with George Pickens, who had a massive influx in his production once Russell Wilson became the starter over Justin Fields. I just felt like that if you're going to do it and you put it out there to Aaron Rodgers, hey, I think I even saw Cam Hayward, was talking about it. If they asked him, would he go on a darkness retreat if it was going to get Aaron Rodgers to come in and be a Pittsburgh Steeler? And his answer was, hell no, I'm not doing that. If you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, then you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. So I really just look at this as Aaron Rodgers maybe surveying the landscape and saying, man, maybe I really wanted to play for the Vikings because I think they can win right now. Won a bunch of games last year. I don't want to play for the Giants because it's going to be a coach on the hot seat, a GM on the hot seat. And it's just, do I really want to go be a part of another rebuild or not rebuild and be the center focus there in New York? And then with the Steelers, it's just a matter of, does he want to go play in Pittsburgh? And I don't know. I can't read Aaron Rodgers' mind, but I will say this. I think the guy's earned the right to take however long he wants to make any decision possible. And our job as analysts and people in the media isn't to just put out articles or make statements trashing the guy because he's taking his time making a decision.
I'm
his life.
Yes, you take your time if you want to. I think Pittsburgh's got too many bigger personalities that's a different environment. You're going into Mike Tomlin's place, and you got T.J. Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick and Cam Hayward. Like that's a different feel than going into the Jets, where he'd be on scholarship to do whatever he wanted to do. Steelers, right. Mike's no nonsense there, but Aaron Rodgers may just say, you know what, I want to retire.
Yeah. I actually had put it out earlier in the offseason that I thought it was Minnesota or retire.
Okay.
Just because I felt like Minnesota was ready to win now. Top 10 defense. You got Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson. They just re-signed Aaron Jones. What's the other receiver there from USC that they have?
Jordan Addison.
Jordan Addison. Like, you've got two number one wide receivers, a number one tight end, a three down back in Aaron Jones, a great offensive line. Like, that's ready made.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, listen, are we in the twilight zone? Like, are we repeating the Brett Favre arc here? For Aaron Rodgers. So I thought it was that or retire. And he may decide to continue to play or whatever. But when it comes to the Steelers, I think it's all changed now once you bring in DK Metcalf, because you're showing any quarterback out there, hey, we're going to put the resources around you. We're going to build the offensive line. We're ready to roll. And if he doesn't say yes to that, then I just don't think he wants to play.
I know you tweeted out Joe Burrow stepping up for his wide receivers, wanting T. Higgins and Jamar Chase to get paid. And I wondered if this was potentially a Carson Palmer situation where it's like, I don't want to be here, and, Carson decided, hey, I'll sit out. I don't want to play. And I wonder if they said, all right, let's take care of Joe Burrow by taking care of these two guys. But
correct.
As a winning philosophy,
yeah,
did the Bengals make the right decision?
Yes, I believe they did. I believe the Bengals gave themselves the best chance to win a Super Bowl in the next 4 years by signing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Now, if I could be critical for a second, I would have done it earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you do it earlier, and I don't mean earlier in the offseason, I mean like a few years ago, they don't cost as much. I believe it's out there that, the numbers support it. The Eagles got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith for $100 million less than the Bengals ended up getting Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That to me is the only critical part of it. But when it comes to, as a quarterback, Joe Burrow standing on business saying, hey, you got to sign my guys or else.
Yeah.
I think that was a message to the Bengals like, all right, we just can't be cheap here. Yes, we need to put a stronger offensive line in front of Joe Burrow. Yes, we need to get our defense to become a top 10, top 15 defense again. But when we went to the Super Bowl, who were our two leading receivers? Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. How many times did Joe Burrow get sacked in 2021? In the regular season, 51 times. Throughout the regular season and postseason, 70 times.
Yeah.
He got sacked 9 times against the Tennessee Titans in the divisional round of the playoffs. I remember tweeting out that. I'm like, this guy's a gangster. He's out there getting sacked 9 times and they're still winning games. He got sacked 7 times in the Super Bowl against the Rams. So I know everyone is like moving the goalposts now because they didn't think Mike Brown and the Bengals would pay all 3 guys. Well, they did. They understand that making their quarterback happy is the best thing for their team. It shows that he has his teammates back in the locker room. And let's be real. Who wouldn't want Jamar Chase and T. Higgins as their 1-2 punch in that receiver room? They can find offensive linemen to maybe hold on for dear life for 2.5 seconds. You can't find guys like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins every day.
Explain to me how all of a sudden Jackson Dart is up in the top 10.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders, it felt like there was a campaign, I call it a smear campaign, that,
yes,
Cam Ward, it feels like he's untouchable. He's going to be the number 1 pick. Nobody's saying anything negative, but here comes Jackson Dart, according to Mel Kiper. Now, he still has Shedeur Sanders, number 3, going to the Giants. You got Jackson Dart maybe going to New Orleans. How does that happen when nobody's played any football for a couple of months? Yeah. You maybe have had some workouts, but tell me how somebody rises or all of a sudden the negatives come out.
Yeah, I've had many conversations with Ravens GM Eric DeCosta. I'm more than sure he's not fine. He's not, doesn't have a problem with me sharing that. And we talked about, scouting and how this whole process goes, throughout the offseason. So yeah, coming in, it was, hey, it's Cam Ward, it's Shedeur Sanders, who's 1, who's 2. Oh, Cam sits out the second half of the ball game. They tried to smear him for that, right? Yeah. But that didn't work. Yeah. Shedeur, he's in the middle of his quote unquote smear campaign right now. And he's, staying strong, getting out there, doing all the workouts, doing all the meetings, having a great job. Well, when you watch Jackson Dart play, I called many of Jackson Dart's games. I think 2 games of his in college at Ole Miss. He can make every single throw. He has the athleticism that you need in today's game to be a true dual threat quarterback. And I think it's those 2 things. You watch the tape, you see how he played. You see him outduel Jaden Daniels when Jaden Daniels was at LSU and they played against Ole Miss. I believe that was 2023. And you just gravitate towards the kid's moxie.
So you believe he's a top 10 pick?
I mean, come on, man.
But why wasn't he a top 10 pick until now?
You're killing me. He's a top 10 pick because we always overdraft quarterbacks.
Okay.
The quarterback position is one that is needed more, maybe not more than left tackles and right tackles right now.
Is Shedeur Sanders a top 10 pick?
I do. I believe he is. Listen, EJ Manuel wasn't a top 10 pick, but EJ Manuel was a first-round quarterback. If you're talking about just body of work, look at what Jackson Dart did. Led Ole Miss to back-to-back 10-win seasons, first 11-game win season in school history. Broke Eli Manning's passing yards records.
Oh, I think he's a legitimate first-round talent. I just, all of a sudden, he's up in the top 10. And I always wonder, like, he hadn't played any football.
Yeah. It's the tape. Like, I don't know about you, Dan, but, like, I love the combine. I think the combine's fun. I love watching guys run super fast and jump really high. And
it doesn't mean anything to me.
Exactly. It doesn't. I mean, come on. I'm giving you firsthand knowledge that you've been in the business a long time, but I'm talking to these guys, and it's like the combine doesn't do much for them. The tape, and when you watch Jackson Dart play, really I look at the draft. The draft is just how do I say this the right way? It's a popularity contest. And like you're trying to increase your value. So if your tape is an A+ and you go to the combine and you have an A+ performance, you're going to be a top pick. But if your tape is an A+ and you go to the combine and you drop a F, you might drop a little bit because you're not as coveted. So I just think Jackson Dart's tape is what's making the scouts say, hey, this young man can play as well. And that's why I also think Jalen Milroe might get drafted a little bit higher than people anticipate. I'm not saying first round, but I think he'll get drafted higher because of his elite skill trait. He does remind me a lot with his skill trait of a Jalen Hurts. I don't know if he'll be a second round pick, but he does some things that you just can't teach at the quarterback position. And then it's on the coaches in the NFL to get him to his maximum potential.
Always great to talk to you. The podcast is Out of Pocket with RG3 on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Good luck to your Baylor Bears.
Appreciate you, brother. VJ Edgecombe. Come on, baby. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.